3000.
What is doing? My name's Maloney. This is the 3000 podcast. I'm joined today by an artist, Chico. Thanks for coming, man.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me on.
You are an artist, but people might know you from a lot of the collage sort of stuff that
That's
you do. So it's going to be really interesting. I love your work. I really want to get into how you became to be an artist and also your journey, man. So let's kick it off. Whereabouts did you grow up and how did you discover fucking art?
So I grew up out in Warrandyte. Do you know where that is?
Yeah.
So 20, 30 minutes from the city. It's kind of like a bit of a small country town sort of vibe.
Got an artist community there though.
Yeah. It was cool. Like when I was younger, it wasn't as trendy as it is now.
Yep.
It was more like, there wasn't much to do there, but I feel like there was a bit more like culture in terms of like, people hanging out at the skate park and stuff like that. Whereas now when I go back, there's no one there. It's like young families and stuff, but it's a nice place.
Yep.
It's a nice place. So yeah, grew up in Warrandyte. Always been creative, like I was a skater for many years. And then from that, I guess I got into graffiti, or maybe before I was into skating, I remember like being like real young and being into graph, like seeing like graph mags and stuff like that.
Is there walls out Warrandyte way?
I mean, there's little drains and things like that, like under the river, but I don't know. Every time I tried to paint in Warrandyte, I'd always get done. So it's like, I don't know. It might be different now, but yeah. And then, so I was a skater, got into graph when I was younger, but like not properly, just sort of like I thought, I didn't know what it was. I was just like, this stuff's cool.
Yep.
And then in high school, started getting into graph. Like still, I was kind of like, it's like I almost forgot about it.
Uh-huh.
And then this kid from New York came to our first high school.
Right.
And his he had a weird tag. His tag was PBK and it stood for Peanut Butter King, which is kind of fresh.
Yeah.
But he was in my brother's class. And then
Sounds like a crew though, PBK.
sounds like a crew, but I think it was just him by himself.
Yeah.
And then I remember walking home from school one day and like we had to cut through this park and my brother is my twin brother, but he's like, 15 minutes older or some shit like that.
Uh-huh.
And he started doing a tag and I was kind of like, it's like graffiti had just gone out of my brain. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm doing a tag. I'm like, what's a tag? I don't know what he said a tag was, but I was like, that's kind of cool.
Well, has he got a Posca or like permanent marker or
He just had like a little permanent marker and he had some, I don't know what the word was, but he was always like super talented, like with anything creative, like crazy cartoons. He could do sick tags.
Did that push you?
I mean, it didn't, I wouldn't say it pushed me, but it definitely got me more into it because I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. I want to do that.
Uh-huh.
Like I've never really had like someone I looked up to, but like maybe my brother was someone because he was, he would get into things a bit earlier than me. So then I would be like, that's kind of cool. So maybe I looked up to him a bit. So then from that, I started getting into graph and then, but just like, just crappy tags and stuff, nothing serious. And then as time went on, got more into graph, but I was always like more of a skater.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, I was always a skater that did graph. I never put like 100% into graffiti.
Yep.
So it was like, I did graph, but I never considered myself a full-on writer.
Yep.
And then, so got into graffiti at a young age. And then after that, sort of just messed around with like, doing graph for a few years or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was kind of like on and off. And then I got into photography actually.
Right. In high school?
No, this is like after high school.
Right.
So I got into photography when I was probably like mid-20s or something like that.
Yep.
And then
What kind of photography? Are we talking landscapes? Are we
no,
talking portraits? Or
just like street photography and like photos of like, I'd go out with like, I took a huge break from doing any graph. So I'd go out with friends who were painting graph and I would like take photos of them and stuff like that.
documenting?
Yeah. And then from that, I was big into Tumblr. Like I loved Tumblr.
Yep.
And then from that, I created like a little graph book sort of zine thing. And it was called Don't Sleep.
What was your Tumblr handle?
Oh, the Tumblr handle, it was called Fuckhead.
Fuckhead.
I don't know why, but it was called fuckhead.tumblr.com. And I just used to post like, graffiti, outfits I liked, interiors, just heaps of random stuff.
And that's sort of what Tumblr was.
Yeah.
Just a way to sort of scrapbook what you're into.
Yeah, that's it. So then, I started like this little graph mag thing.
What was that called?
It was called Don't Sleep.
Okay. Oh, yep. Yeah, you did.
And it was kind of a mix of like street photography, graffiti, and tattooing. So I'd visit tattoo studios and like do little profiles and things like that.
Yep.
Did that for like maybe 5 years. Released a few issues. It was pretty sweet. I liked doing it. And then I think I just kind of like lost the love for like photography. And then I didn't do anything creative for like maybe like a year. I was just partying and just chilling.
You're working?
I was working, yeah. Always working. And then me and my brother started a clothing brand. It was called Common Dust.
Okay.
And it was kind of like, the graphics were kind of like collage-y, sort of, black and white. It was all black and white. It wasn't like fluoros or anything.
Yep.
And then
Were you selling it online? You got stores stocking it?
we had it online, and then we had stockists as well. So we sold in like Japan and things like that.
You're producing it here?
We were producing it here. We were screen printing here, and then any cut and sew we would do like offshore.
Yep.
So it was pretty sweet. Like we did that for like maybe like 5 or 6 years. Went to LA, did like a trade show and stuff like that. And then
Common Dust.
It was called Common Dust, yeah.
Right, yep.
And then it was kind of like punky, sort of lo-fi, sort of grungy graphics.
Zine inspired. Kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
yeah. And then from that, I think I was kind of like, I want to do like a larger scale collage. So I eventually got a studio, and then instead of trying the large scale collage, I started like trying to do paintings, and I just didn't really, I don't know, it just didn't feel right. It was like I was forcing it.
Yep.
And
didn't
then
come naturally.
Didn't come naturally, yeah. And then I did my first collage. When I look at it now, I'm like, it's not the best. But when I did it at the time, I was like, it's weird. Like I felt weird. Like I felt like it was right, and it felt like I really liked it.
How big is this first one?
It was decent size. It was like A1.
Right.
And then from then I just went full collage. And
so with that early one, are you printing the materials yourself? Are you sourcing the materials?
No, I was sourcing the materials. Yeah. Like, because my studio is only small, so I don't have room for like a big printer or anything like that. So I would go to like the street poster printers and things like that and get them to print things out for me. And then from there it's just been like full collage and like the occasional zine every now and then. Yeah, which is sweet.
So when you started doing that, is there people that you're looking up to that you're like, okay, they're doing a similar thing that you're inspired by, or are you just looking at it with blinkers on, like I'm going to do this thing totally myself?
Yeah, no, it was kind of like I'm going to do this thing. I didn't know anything about collage or collage artists or anything like that. It was only like the more I went on doing and working on my collages that I would like find other artists and see that, okay, this is a thing.
Yep.
Maybe not in Australia, but it seemed to be bigger in Europe and things like that.
Yep. Because I guess it's sort of like collages have been around since newspaper print's been around. Like magazines have been around in different capacities. Even at primary school in art, you would cut up a new idea magazine and make your own collages.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like something that people do when they're kids, and then you kind of just
you stop doing it.
Yeah,
because I feel like it's it's not really like a trendy sort of art form, and maybe people don't take it that seriously because it is kind of one of those things where you could look at it and be like, you know, when people, you know, they're at a gallery or whatever and they're like, oh, I could do that, you know.
That's-
Collage is kind of like that, but it's like, you know, anyone can do it, but not everyone can do it with the same flavour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's what anyone can do that. That mentality is someone who doesn't appreciate art.
Yeah.
Because
that's
whenever
it.
people say that, I'm like, but you didn't.
Yeah, that's
you know what I
think.
mean?
Yeah.
You could have done it, yes, but you didn't.
Yeah.
They did. Therefore, they're the artist, and you're the person that said you could do it.
Yeah.
It's like-
It's the ultimate thing, yeah, when people are like, yeah, I can do that, and you kind of like, yeah, but you didn't, bro. So,
You didn't.
you know.
Yeah. That frustrates me. It's just someone who doesn't get it. But anyway, the thing is, though, it's how anyone can do a lot of different arts, but it's about the way that you execute it.
Yeah.
And it's also about, there's a lot of factors. You know what I mean? So, that sort of mentality sucks. I hate
that's
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
And it's even when you see it with graph with like anti-style, people are like, oh, but it's not even very good. You're like, yeah, but sometimes they don't want it to be good.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. They're definitely the new generation. I guess it's an evolution, maybe you would say, but I've never been mad into the anti-style stuff. But like, you know, I can appreciate it if it looks kind of decent, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of, you know, older heads that would be like, that's not real graph. It's just like, it's kind of like the same with hip hop. It's like, you know, I've got mates from high school that are like, you know, they only listen to Wu-Tang or like 90s rap. And, you know, I'll be like, oh, do you listen to so-and-so, some new rapper? And they're like, oh, you know, fuck that, you know, that's not rap and all this shit. And it's like, well, it is. It's just an evolution.
Yeah.
You know?
And the thing is, for people that say, oh, that style of graffiti isn't real graph, you're like, well, it's probably the most like original 70s graph than anything out there. So it depends just because you're stuck in an era where the 90s may be the perfect era for you musically or artistically, doesn't mean that anything that comes before or after that isn't right.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a narrow-minded way to look at it. Anyway,
For sure. Like the skill, definitely the graph that came out in like the 80s and 90s, I feel like the skill and like maybe people were putting in a bit more effort, whereas now it's just like the shitter you are, the cooler you are.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
But it sort of goes back to the using the stock caps, maybe not shaking your cans properly. Like, I don't know. It's the other thing is the different way you can look at it, and it also comes back to I could have done that. It's like people that do juvenile artwork, if they've got the body of work behind them and they can show they can produce real artwork, well, that's just where they are mentally at that point in time on their
that's
artistic
it.
journey.
That's it.
Same with graph. There's some anti-style people that I know that can paint beautiful full color burners that are they choose to do that.
Yeah, that's it. They find it more fun or something.
Yeah, or looser or just takes them back to the early days. There's different.
Yeah.
Art's funny, man.
Yeah, for sure.
So on your journey, you started to make your first collage. You're feeling it. Are you using different colors? You're still sticking to the black and white?
No, so the first one was like fluoro pink, fluoro yellow, and then black and white.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why, like where I got the fluoro sort of thing from, because I've always been like a black and white kind of person. But I
guess it leans into the street poster thing a bit.
Yeah,
because when
definitely.
you see those bill posters, the cheapest way to get impact is to print one color on the fluoro paper.
Yeah, that's it. So definitely took that inspiration from the street posters with all the fluoros and stuff like that.
Yep.
Still trying to nail getting it looking like really organic. You know, it's hard to do it without, you know, like leaving something out and like letting it weather and things like that. But yeah, I have fun. You know, it's good.
Man, I used to love seeing when I lived back in the city, because you don't see too many bill posters around here, but when they would rip down and just seeing the textures and the way and that, I'm guessing, is a big inspiration for you.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, like the textures now I like really like, but when I first started, it was like I thought that everything, my art had to look like perfect. You know, there couldn't be any air bubbles, there couldn't be creases. But now if I do a piece like that, I'm almost like, oh, it's too clean. You know, it looks like a print.
Yep.
Or it doesn't look like, you know, on an organic street poster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an art to that, man. I recently covered the whole back of my toilet door with posters.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, this is cool. I pushed out all the air bubbles. I let it dry, and now it's bubbling up.
Yeah.
Like, there's a definite art to it.
Yeah.
And now every
that's
time I'm
it.
in the bathroom, I'm like, fuck, man, I made him fine.
What were you using to paste it up?
I was just using spray adhesive.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I also got like wallpaper paint,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I didn't use, but I think maybe I should have, because what I made the mistake of doing is I just covered the door and the posters with the adhesive,
Yep.
had them flat, but when it's dried, it
Started
kind of
bubbling up,
raised
yeah.
up. But I guess if I had to put the wallpaper paint over the top, like wheat paste, it
Yeah,
would have
yeah.
dried.
It would have dried. It would have helped it. Yeah.
Where were you
'Cause-
last weekend? I needed you.
Yeah, because sometimes I'll use wallpaper paste or like a gel medium.
Yep.
The wallpaper paste is a bit easier to use because you can move things around.
Yeah.
But it does make the posters a lot wetter, so they can rip a lot easier, and
Yep.
Whereas the gel medium, it sticks down like pretty much straight away. Like if you put a poster down, like you can't move that.
It's like the spray adhesive.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah.
tacky from the start.
Yeah, that's it.
But I guess you learn all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, you learn all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I first started, like I was, in the smaller t-shirt collages, I was using a glue stick and things like that. And then when I started doing the bigger ones, I was doing wallpaper paste. And then I thought, oh man, there's got to be something else that, like. And then I just shopped around and then found the gel medium and tried it out, and seemed pretty sweet, and I liked it.
Yeah. You can just get that from Bunnings, or you can get it from
No,
Office
you
Works
get
or
it from
something?
like Eckersley's and those sort of
So
places.
it's a
like
proper
those,
art supply
Yeah,
thing.
it's a proper art thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what other collage artists use, but I'm assuming it'd be like wallpaper paste or
yeah.
some sort of.
Because I did go down a bit of a YouTube rabbit hole when I was looking to do that stuff, and I'm like, oh, you can make your own wheat paste with essentially that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, how's this going to turn out? It would be, yeah.
Yeah. Like I've done that a couple of times. You're over the stove with your flour and water or whatever and sugar and shit like that. I'm like, man, I can't be bothered doing that. I'd rather just go to Bunnings and buy like a tub, and
Yeah.
at least it's like proper.
And you know that all the,
gonna work.
the quantities are going to be
Yeah,
right. You're
yeah,
not going to
yeah.
fuck it up by putting too much sugar in.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So then when you've started to find your own kind of flavour, did you try to evolve that? You're like, okay, this is where I'm going, then you know what I mean? Did you try?
Yeah, definitely sort of like when I first started out, it was like very typography based. Like I would use a lot of words and stuff in there. Whereas nowadays I try and use faces. And eventually I want to get into using my own photography.
Right.
But I still want to use typography. I mean, I use my own photography, and I still want to use typography eventually.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll just see how we go.
So with the process now, do you use, if you print, do you like thumbnail it? Do you sketch it up? Do you do a digital recreation? How do you?
Yeah,
how do
like I'll do like sometimes I'll do like a really rough sketch in like a notepad, and like they're the shittest sketches. Sometimes I look back at them and I'm like, the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah.
But then I'll start with a sketchbook, and then I'll take it to Illustrator and then sort of mock it up just to see like how the colors are going to go and things like that. And then I have a base to work off, and then I'll take that to the studio and sort of work from that. And then if I need to rip away or add pieces to it, I can go from there. Because I did, the first few like were just fully freestyled, and like some of them were cool, but then some of them were just, I don't know, to me they just looked a bit crap.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed like having a bit of a plan.
Yep. But I guess you got to start somewhere, and
Yeah,
you're learning it
that's
as you go.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a hard thing to do without making it really cheesy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's something that I think if you ask 10 people in a room to make a collage, you'd go for the low hanging fruit and make it sort of cheesy. So it's hard to do with sort of like artistic fucking integrity.
Yeah. Because collage, like like you still see like the crafty sort of collage where it's like, it's really cool. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's like it's different images cut out from like magazines from the 80s or whatever to create like a different whole image and stuff like that, which is cool. It's never been the collage that I wanted to do.
Yep.
And yeah, some of that can look a bit cheesy.
Yeah, and even like you could give 10 people the same 10 stickers, right? I'm talking like graph stickers or wherever, and say put them on a piece of paper. That everyone's going to do them differently.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's almost like a cheesy way to put stickers up.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I like them to be organic and move, and like this one kind of frames that one. But then you see some people that'll put them up all square in a line. I'm like, oh, that's not how I'd do it. It's similar to that. Like you could just get the same things and change it. Everyone's going to do it in a different way.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
So, you start to find your style. Have you developed the name at this stage though, or are you?
What, like Chico?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I've had Chico since. That's been my nickname since I was like 8 or 9 years old.
Okay.
Some kid just came to school and started. I think his uncles the night before were calling him Chico, and then he just came to school and started calling me Chico, and then it was like a joke. I would call him Chico, and then the next day it was just I was Chico from then on, and then
with no real meaning.
And I liked the nickname, so like it just went with me my whole life.
Yeah.
So when I introduce myself to people, it's just always Chico.
Yeah, I do that as well.
Yeah.
And people, it makes more sense.
And like a lot of like for a while they're like when Facebook sort of like started, 2008 or whatever, whenever I got Facebook, I had my original name, like my real name on there, and like I was adding people, and a lot of people were like, "Who the fuck's this dude?"
Yeah.
No one, like a lot of my mates didn't know my real name.
Yeah. And I remember Facebook made it like I had my DJ name as my name back then, and they like, no, you've got to send us your license. We need to get everyone's real name, and they changed it. Fuck, I hate Facebook.
Yeah. Whenever I look at Facebook, man, it kind of makes me sad because I'm like, oh, there's all these old people from high school and they haven't changed, and Yeah.
I say this all the time though, but now Facebook is only the people that didn't want to use it in the first place. They're the only people that use it.
Yeah.
But it's social media in general, though. You're pretty good. Like when you're an artist, it's easy to do socials well because you've got good art to post. Do you enjoy doing that aspect of it?
I mean, like I definitely enjoy. Like I love social media. Like I love posting photos and things like that. I don't like trying to come up with like crazy content ideas and things like that. Like I do reels every now and then, but like I don't love doing them, because I feel like it takes away from the actual process of making the artwork.
But couldn't you just set up a camera and do a time lapse or something?
Yeah, no, like I have been doing that. I do that on TikTok and things like that.
So you're on TikTok.
I'm on TikTok. All my mates give me shit because they're like, "Oh, you're probably the only 40-year-old on TikTok and stuff like that." But I'm like, you gotta spread it across. Gotta be on everything.
Man, I was talking to a young guy yesterday. He's only 21. He's a tattoo artist, and he said that he gets most of his work from TikTok. Yeah. And he said that now, and you obviously would know a fair few tattoo artists, there's a lot of people that are doing it quiet at the moment because of what's going on with the economy. But he said that every tattoo artist that he knows that was originally not on TikTok is now starting to because they know it's a medium that you kind of got to be on. Yeah,
and you can grow a lot quicker on there. And I mean, I haven't got any sales from there, not that I know of, but
But you don't know. They might then click on your link and then they go through.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but I definitely enjoy. I enjoy still images more than like videos and trying to create some crazy reel and things like that.
I was saying this to the young guy though. I was like, man, the thing is with TikTok, I feel from a creator's point of view, whether you're an artist or whatever, you can put your throwaway shit on there. Like it doesn't have to be polished.
Doesn't have to be perfect.
So something that you might be like, say for instance, you do it and you I fucked that up. I'm gonna rip it and throw it in the bin.
Yeah.
That could be a piece of content that people like, but you wouldn't put it on Instagram.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Because Instagram I feel like is still like quite polished and curated and stuff like that, whereas TikTok is just like whatever. People don't care,
No, throw it out there. Man, you see people that post stupid shit all the time and like they're just one little 3-second thing and somehow it goes viral.
I think
that's kind of the idea behind TikTok. But the other thing that it's really strong about it is that anyone can go viral, where I think with Instagram you kind of need to have a little bit of a following or you just strike lightning.
Yeah, definitely with TikTok, like you can go viral a lot easier. Like I had one post that actually did pretty well actually, and grew my following on TikTok like a lot more than what it was, which was pretty sweet. And that's when I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm going to start posting more regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a TikTok personal one that I would just used to try and put funny shit on in COVID, and it was I had a reasonable audience, like 15,000 people.
Yeah.
Right? And then I tried to shoehorn the podcast into it, and I get like 800 views. I'm like, no, this sucks.
What sort of stuff were you putting on there?
From the podcast or originally?
Oh, no, for the other...
Man, it's pretty embarrassing. I was just like pretend to talk on the phone and like just crack jokes
like
and shit.
skits and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it was not edited. Like I I pretended to talk on the phone one day, put it on Facebook, and my cousin who's younger is like, you got to put this on TikTok. So I put a couple of them on TikTok, and then like I got like 200,000, 400,000 views like on a few videos with no editing or anything.
Yeah.
Just me pretending to talk.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I just sat on it for a few years. I'm like 15,000 followers. I don't know what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah.
Then when I started the podcast, I put a few little clips on there. And obviously people followed it because it was stupid. They didn't follow it for serious chats. And it just tanked.
Yeah,
and I gave up.
Have you got a TikTok for the podcast? Or?
Yeah, I do, but I don't post on it. And I need to start again because I think what I made the mistake, I tried to shoehorn an audience that was there for something else into... something they didn't sign up for.
It's definitely hard to do something like that. Yeah.
And so then I'm like, all right, I just need to start from scratch. But you need to put effort into it, man.
Yeah. Definitely. Especially if you're making videos, and even if it's like not, edited, it still takes a bit of time,
Yeah, and it's just another platform. But I guess I should really do it and do more behind the scenes sort of stuff. Like we said, just that throwaway shit, like that's not polished. Maybe that's a better way for me to attack it.
Everyone loves to see like behind the scenes and, Yeah, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, people come here and they're like, oh, wow, I didn't think it would be like this, or this is bigger than I thought, or blah, blah, blah. So just to show little things like that, I guess I could do.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, it's not about me, man. It's about you. So then with your, so you've developed your style.
Yep.
Do you think about, all right, how am I going to apply this? I'm going to sell posters. I'm going to have an exhibition. I'm going to be a fine artist. Like, what was your...
Well, like, my original thing was always like, I just want to be a fine artist. I don't want to do commercial stuff. But then, there's obviously more money in commercial stuff. And I thought, like, why can't I do why can't I be both? Why can't I be a fine artist and a commercial artist? Work with brands, work with design agencies and things like that. As long as I think the work is cool and it's, it's not something I'm completely not into. I think it's fine. And what was the question again?
The question was, did you intend to be a fine artist, or did you intend to find applications to make money from it, sort of thing?
Definitely like at the start I was like, I just want to be a full-time artist. I don't want to have another job.
Yep.
But now,
which is the dream for a lot of people.
Which is a dream for a lot of people. And if I could make bank off my art without having to worry about, money and things like that, that'd be fine. But now I'm kind of like, I'm happy to have another job, as well as long as I have a bit of freedom to create my art as well.
Yeah, finding that balance.
Yeah, because I don't want to. I don't want the creativity to be sucked out, just because I'm stressing. I need to make money from this, need to make money from that, from my art.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a bit of a backup there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that makes the art better in the long run.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like if I was trying to monetize this podcast and just jamming ads in there, it takes away from what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Same with any sort of artist. If you're just chasing jobs for money to pay the bills, it's going to affect your art.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a good balancing act. So then you thought about your first exhibition?
Yeah, so I had a small exhibition at a shop in Brunswick called Sucker. Mm-hmm. And that was just I had a small, just a small collection of work there.
Are we talking like 10, 15 pieces?
Nah, not even. There might have been like, I don't know, there might have been like 8 pieces or something like that.
Yep.
Maybe less. And then I had a proper solo show in 2023 at on the corner in Collingwood.
Yep.
And that was like, that wasn't massive. That wasn't that many pieces. It was probably like 13 or 14. But that was like stuff I'd worked on for like a while and I was really proud of. And it actually did really well. It did really well, and I was like, I was confident. I was like, man, I'm going to have an exhibition every year, and because that one sold majority of the stuff. So I was like, I'm going to have one next year. I'm going to sell all this stuff. And then I had one the following year I had one in Newcastle at a gallery called Wester.
Yep.
And I didn't know anyone in Newcastle. But because of the first solo show, I had this confidence of like, I'm going to sell, but I only sold like one piece. So it was like, you know, it was a expensive experience, but it was a cool experience, you know, because I kind of had to do it to grow, and you know, I met some cool people, and yeah, I was just up there for the weekend, but it was sweet, you know.
Did they approach you? It seems like
They approached me, because I had in my mind, I was like, oh, I want to do a solo show. I just didn't know where, and then they approached me, so I was like, oh yeah, why not, you know?
Yeah.
But it was cool, you know. Yeah, did the exhibition, got to paint a bit of graph, and it was cool. It was fun.
Did you meet Tunzi up there?
No, I didn't meet Tunzi. Nah.
You needed to get him to help promote the show up.
Yeah.
So I guess, and that's all part of the learning experience. I guess you realise, okay, that was a good idea. Maybe I was a year or two ahead, or maybe I needed to promote it differently. Maybe I needed to,
But I definitely, like depending on, you know, if I can build a small body of work, which I definitely can, before the end of the year. And depending on what my financial side is like, I'd like to have like a small exhibition somewhere, just to like, even if I didn't sell this stuff, just to show some new work, even if it's only like, you know, 8 pieces or something like that.
Yep.
Just because I want to have exhibitions so people can see the pieces in person instead of just on Instagram, and then it shows that you're a real artist. You know, you're actually trying to do something with this shit.
Yeah. And they can see the textures. They can see
they
what
can
goes
see it all.
into it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Because I guess it is, even with anything digital, it's hard to get that feel of what it actually physically is.
Yeah.
And the size, the scale, and maybe sometimes the colours and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, the colours, they're definitely fluoros. Like, they're hard to photograph and make look, you know, that glowing look, you know. So on Instagram, you know, like it might look a lot duller. So then you see it in person, you're like, oh, it's a lot brighter. It actually, and the fluoro, I reckon when it's brighter, it looks a lot. To me, it looks cooler.
Yeah, for sure. And then because with that work that you make, and not to give the people that say I could have done that a bit of credit, is there a theory and emotion behind it, or are you going for aesthetics? This will look good, or a balance of both?
It's more of like aesthetic, I'd say. There's not like, I've never been big into like having this crazy meaning behind all the art and things like that. Most of it is based off, you know, like I might just, you know, create a design. So it is, you know, it's a bit of a mix of like graphic design and art. So, you know, I'll create a design. It might not have any meaning. It might just, I like the images used and the composition, and then I'll name it after a song or whatever I'm listening to in the studio and things like that.
Okay.
So there's never really a crazy story behind any of the pieces.
Yep. So yeah, because a lot of people, and it means something to them, the artist will be like, this is all about this emotion or whatever. But to the viewer, you're like, it's hard for me to get that out of it. Especially when it comes to abstract art.
That's it, yeah. So I'm kind of like, you know, like put it out there, you know, whatever you feel, whatever sort of emotion you feel, like when you're looking at the piece, that's on, you know, that's all you know?
Yep.
It's not like I'm trying to say, oh, you know, this is a story behind this piece, so people can resonate with it. It's just like, you know, if you feel some sort of emotion towards this piece, that's cool.
Yep. And I guess the key is to make it aesthetically nice to look at, so it can hang in someone's house proudly.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Because like a lot of people, like friends I talk to, I'm like, oh, you know, like I'll show them a piece of someone else's art, and I'm like, oh, you know, what do you think of this? And they're like, yeah, that's sick. And I'm like, do you care like what it means? And they're like, no, I don't care. It just looks sick.
Yeah.
You know, obviously there's a lot of people that, you know, they want to know the whole story and things like that. But for me, it's not that important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some artists might just make up a story behind it. They just make it to look cool anyway. Just to try and give it a deeper meaning. Who knows?
Yeah.
Not everybody, but I'm sure that would happen from time to time.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially with people that make abstract art, they'll be like, oh yeah, this is emotions and this is coming through here. And you're like, maybe you just thought those colours look good together.
Yeah, that's it.
Or clashed.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah. It must be hard though to make something that is like, okay, you're always using different parts, right? But it must be hard to be like, okay, let's make this cohesive in a disjointed way.
Yeah, like sometimes I feel like lately I've been using like mock-ups less and trying to like, you know, like I have all the posters in front of me and try and freestyle it a bit. But Yeah, what was the question again?
It must be hard to when you've got every single piece you do is got to at least come from about at least 3 or 4 pieces of source material at least. So it must be hard to get those things that are so removed from each other and put it into one cohesive thing. That's the largest challenge to make something look like it's disjointed but work together aesthetically.
For sure. Because sometimes you can put it together and what I thought was going to look sick, I look at it and I'm like, man, either the colours are way off or the composition's way off or it just looks like mess,
Yeah.
But I kind of like the really hectic stuff as well as the minimal work as well. Like I want to do a bit more minimal stuff.
Yeah.
Even though I like looking at the hectic stuff, but not everyone wants that on their wall,
Yeah. No, well, it's hard because it's abrupt because it's ripped up paper.
Yeah,
so it can't look too polished. Otherwise, it'll look too clean.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's it.
So recently, you just did a surfboard as well with a few other people.
Yeah, did the surfboard.
How did that come about, man? What was that exhibition?
It was like a book launch for this guy Sergio Gomez down in Torquay.
Yep.
And he's like a surfboard shaper. I think that's what you call him. Yeah,
he's a shaper, I think. Yeah.
And he released a book, and he wanted to do an exhibition along with it. And I'd worked with one of the guys that was organising it, Zach, and he just hit me up and said, "Do you want to do a surfboard?" And I said, "Fuck yeah, man! Like I've always wanted to do a surfboard, but I'm not a surfer, so what connects do I have?"
Yeah.
And they just dropped off the surfboard, and at first, I thought, because they're so light, it's just this foam thing. I thought this is going to be hard to work with, but it was sick. I really liked it.
Yeah. Did you fiberglass over the work?
Yeah, they did whatever they need to do so you can actually surf it.
Right.
So hopefully someone buys it because I want to see someone surf it. That would be sick.
Is that the idea, or is the idea just to hang it?
The idea I think was just to hang it, but I'd rather see someone out there surfing it.
Yeah.
I think that would be sick.
Yeah.
Even if I made half the money, I don't care. I just want to see someone riding it.
Is the work on both sides or just one side?
It's just on one side,
The side you stand on, or the side?
The side you stand on, so it's probably going to get covered in wax anyway.
Yeah, which kind of adds to the
could look cool still,
Yeah, and what about any other group exhibitions that you've done of note like that?
Nothing like a surfboard or anything like that. I've done skateboard exhibitions.
Yeah.
And I like doing skateboards. At first, I would actually do the collage onto them, but then I just didn't like the look of it. So then I started getting them vinyl wrapped onto there, and I thought that looked a bit nicer and more premium. And if you wanted to skate it, you can. Whereas if you skated a proper collage, you're going to be grinding this rail, and there's going to be paper all over the ground and shit like that.
Yeah.
I've done skateboard exhibitions, but in terms of boards and things like that, that's about it.
Are you generally the only collage artist that does these group sort of exhibitions?
The surfboard one, yeah. The skateboard one, there might be some other collage artists in there.
Yeah.
But not the same. Not the same sort of that. Not that sort of bill poster sort of vibe.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know many people doing that sort of bill poster vibe in Australia or in Melbourne.
But I guess as you're growing and as you are growing as an artist, but also growing your following, I guess you're discovering other people that are doing similar stuff around the world.
Yeah,
is there a full collage community out there?
There is. There's a collage collective in Sydney, which is pretty cool. And one of the dudes, actually Steve, I met him the other week because he had a solo down here, and he's actually, I used to watch all these skate videos when I was younger, so it was crazy. When I found out he was a collage artist as well.
Steve who?
I don't know how to pronounce his surname correctly. Steve Tierney.
Okay, and he's a skater.
He was a skater. Yeah, he still skates now, but he was a skater. He was in all the Sydney videos and stuff like that.
Right.
So it was cool to see that he was a collage artist.
Yep.
And he makes really cool work.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like black and white sort of stuff. But yeah, that's cool.
So, but with what you're doing, I'm seeing you're starting to use some more mediums. You're using markers and charcoal and stuff like that as well, which is a part of the evolution.
So it's kind of I don't know where that came from. I think it was a thing of I you see the bill posters and there's little squiggles on there and stuff like that. And I thought, that'd be kind of cool to do. It might be fun, and I can just like squiggle on it, and it's fun. Yeah, and it just adds a bit more texture to it.
Yeah, but I guess it makes it hard to replicate that stuff when you want to keep doing it though, because you might have scribbled one way this time, but then you'd go to do it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So now at the start, it was kind of like really, I try to control it, and now it's just like I try and do it a bit rough, so there's more texture in the oil paint, in the solids.
Yeah.
Because I use the solids to do it all.
Yeah. Have you gone around the city and just ripped bits off posters and tried to sort of make something out of them?
I have done that, and I've cut them down and things like that. If I see a cool poster, for a while, like I was going around, like just down the road from the studio, there's a wall, then they would just put up posters. I would go down with a razor blade and just cut it all out. And it's cool, like, because there's all these posters that you would never use, and it's like it just has that real like proper street poster look,
Uh-huh.
But there's nothing wrong with that, and I really like it. It's just I have to frame it behind glass, which I think looks cool as well.
Yeah. So do you archive that stuff and be like, okay, I'm not feeling this at the moment. I'm not in a stage where I'm using these sort of graphics, but I'll just chuck them in a drawer. Maybe it's something I can reference later.
Yeah, like one recently I made earlier in the year, or could have been last year, but I just framed it recently, and I'll put that in a group show in August. And like, it looks sick in the frame, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because I guess when you've got different levels of thickness and whatever, you got to put it behind the glass. You got to make sure that that's all going to work. And this is...
Yeah. Like this was a bit like harder to, usually you can put something and you just slide the backing on and it fits in there nicely. But because this had so many layers and it was all like, curved and stuff, it was harder to sort of get in there.
Yeah. Have you got many sort of like design kind of gigs out of this sort of stuff where people say, we like your style, can you apply it to what we're doing?
Yeah, like at the end of last year, or not the end, but like towards the end of last year, I worked with Worship Supplies to create like a little capsule. Mm-hmm. So we did like, I created like some collages. It was more like t-shirt graphic styles.
Yep, which you had the background in already. Yeah, so you got all that.
Yeah. So we made like, a t-shirt, a jumper, like a knit. There was a pair of jeans, shorts. We sampled like a beanie, couple of hats and some socks and a jacket, but they didn't make the cut.
Yep.
But it's sick to see. Like I still like being in the streetwear game.
Yep.
It's still cool. Like I still like putting my work on that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So then is your brother still in that streetwear sort of stuff?
No, he's in like production and things like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So he doesn't do anything. Like he still draws for his kids and things like that. But he doesn't do like any graph or anything like that. But he's way better than me. Like he's always been like, his characters were like, even when we were younger, his characters were sick. Like he's just always been so much better. Sometimes I think he should have taken my path and I should have taken his path,
Oh, well, you've got him to look up to and be like, man, how would you do this? Do you bounce ideas off him or anything?
If I do something like if I do like a reel or something like that, I'll send to him and be like, well, is this whack or is this all right? And he'd be like, man, what's with your voice? You sound croaky. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm high or something like that,
Yeah.
But yeah, things like that, I'll bounce ideas off him. And if I get like a job, I might be like, what do you think of this? So it's good to have, a twin brother to, we have always had similar interests. So it's good to sort of bounce ideas off him, like,
Yeah.
And just ask him what his opinion is and if he thinks it's cool or if I look like a dickhead and if I change it and things like that,
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
And I guess it's one of those things that you can't really... You can't explain to somebody who doesn't have a twin what it's like. Like people, I guess you've always got that super close connection.
Yeah. We've been like, best friends forever. We've always been into the same things like skating, graffiti and things like that.
Yeah.
It's just that he continued to skate, whereas I sort of stopped skating and continued to paint graph.
Yeah.
And then, I remember like years and years ago, I remember like I was like, oh, come and do a piece with me. And it had been like so long since he did a piece. And he started sketching up this piece and it was tiny. And I was like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like, you need to max that out, man. Like, that's disgusting, you know?
Was this like an illegal wall or something?
It was a legal wall, yeah.
So he had time. He could have done
He had time, yeah, but it was just like, dude, that's tiny, man. What is that? It's like as big as the tag, you know?
He wanted to conserve his paint, maybe.
Yeah.
When you said you did the collab with Worship, or you did some work with them, were
Yep.
they good to work with?
Yeah, super chill. Like, the main guy I dealt with, Jack, he's like one of my mates now, which is sweet. And he was always a fan of Common Dust. So it was sick to work with him, and like all the dudes I've worked with Worship have been chill.
Yeah, because I've heard that that's owned by like a bigger label.
Yeah, it's owned by, you know, that Thrills brand?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's owned by them, and I think Worship is like kind of like their offshoot of like more of a skate sort of grungy sort of brand, whereas Thrills is the moneymaker, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Thrills, I think it's starred in Byron.
Yeah. So they're all Byron based. Yeah.
Yeah,
So they're all chillers. Yeah. They're cool.
I don't know how true this is, but I heard that sort of Worship was born when Thrills was trying to get like Butter and Passport and these skate brands into their shop.
Oh yeah, right.
I don't know how true this is. This is what I've heard. And those brands are sort of core skate brands, and they're like, no, we're only in
They're
skate
so
shops.
different. Yeah.
And so then that was sort of born out of them wanting to stock those brands that could, and they're like, well, we'll just make our own one. That's what I've heard. I don't know how true
I wouldn't be surprised, man. That's, you know, because Thrills is so different to like Butter and Passport, because obviously it's not a skate brand.
Yeah. And I've heard that, when they approached those core brands, they said, we want to stock you. They're like, no, we only do skate shops.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. I don't know.
And that's fair enough, you know.
Yeah, man. And it's cool that, like, there was, and you've been skating for a long time as well, so you'd remember, there was a huge push from the skate community to not let these brands like Nike and everything come in.
Back in the day,
Back in the day. But now it's like they've come in with their big fat checkbooks and everyone's welcome, you know?
Yeah, that's it. Nike. Like, you know, like I watch like Street League and things like that. Like I don't skate anymore. Like I could probably barely ollie. Maybe if you gave me like two or three weekends, I might be able to get it back. But like if I get on a skateboard now, I just look like one of those old dudes. If I went to a park, I'd look like one of those old dudes that used to be able to skate, but he can't anymore.
Yeah. Which is a lot of us in our 40s.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
And I just can't be bothered, you know. Like I'd rather, you know, paint, graph, or do art and exercise and things like that.
Yeah. Well, you're still very, very fit though. Like I'm sure it wouldn't take you long to get it back.
Yeah, it's just my maybe.
You don't bounce back as you get older though. You take one slam and you're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, that's it. I wouldn't want to stack, you know.
Yeah.
That'd be the thing.
And then you break your wrist or something, then you can't work.
It's
a whole thing.
Yeah.
But so you still are painting though? You're painting for fun, or like graph painting?
Yeah, like I still paint graph like every now and then. Like I said, I've never been like 100% into it. I've never considered myself a full graph writer. Mm-hmm. I've always been like on and off, you know, like when I was younger, I had like bad luck, you know, like always getting arrested, like when my mates weren't getting arrested. And then it became this joke where it was like, oh, don't invite Chico out because he's bad luck, you know. So then it was kind of like, you know, didn't paint graph for like ages and ages. You know, I was just like, oh, I'll only paint legal walls or chill spots.
Yep.
Or do tags and things like that. And then... but I still try and get out when I've got time.
Yeah.
Because I still enjoy it, you know, even though I'm like old and, you know, like people would be like, you know, I'm not old, but like, you know, people that don't paint graph are like, you know, dude, so immature, but it's like, dude, I enjoy it, you know.
It's fun.
It's fun. It's like, you know, and you know, you did it when you were younger. It's the same as footy. You were probably kicking the footy around when you were 5 years old, and you're kicking the footy around now and you're 40 years old. So it's the same thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Man, I've tried to do some pieces recently in the last couple of years, hanging out with friends and stuff like that, and I'm no good because I hadn't done it. And even when I was a kid, I didn't do it much. But it is just a bit of fun.
Yeah, that's it.
And like, if people are having fun and it's not hurting anyone, and it's on, you know, you're not on someone's property.
Yeah, that's
Who
it.
cares, man?
That's it. And I've never taken it too seriously. It's kind of just been like something I'll do, like, you know, every now and then.
Yep.
It's not like I've, you know, dedicated my whole life to, I'm just going to be a graph writer. It's just like, I'll paint a bit of graph here, paint a bit of graph there. So I've never really tried to, you know, I've never been like, oh, I want to be like this mad graph writer and have all these crazy pieces, you know. It's just like, I'm actually really lazy when it comes to pieces. Like, I only want to paint chrome pieces, and my mates give me shit for it, but it's just like, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you done anything mixing the collage with the graph?
Nah, not really. I mean, like when I did some collabs like a few years ago with Sahil Roy, we I guess if you look at it, you can see a bit of graph elements in there, like, you know, some like minor tags and stuff like that. But I've never really sort of tried to mimic graph with my art pieces. I have thought about it, but I haven't really planned anything out.
But yeah, it'd be cool to have like some bill poster stuff, rip that, then do and bring those two elements together.
Yeah, yeah. There's a dude in Russia that actually, he does some cool stuff like that.
Right.
Like the collages, all the bill posters, and he'll tag over it.
Yeah.
And he makes like, really cool work.
Yeah, I've seen, it's cool with Instagram now because you find these weird graffiti or / street art niches you didn't know exist. Like I saw a dude the other day who did like with metallic paper, did a fill in of like a throwy, and you're like, I would never have thought to do that.
How? What do you mean?
So we like pasted up metal. So it was like you know, like reflective like sort of like alfoil, like that, like reflective paper. He pasted that up and made it the fill of a throwy.
Right, and just outlined it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? Like I never would have thought, but I'm like, it works. And when people would walk past it, it's like, whoa, that's actually a mirror,
something different.
Different. It's like a chromie, but it's all this sort of stuff people are doing. It's crazy.
It's crazy. I feel like a lot of people would be like, oh, that's whack, you know?
Of course.
Because it's not, you know, it's either new or it's not real. They'd be like, that's not real graph, you know?
Yeah, and look, there is the hardcore people that don't, but maybe that dude isn't trying to do real graph. He's trying to push the element.
And he's just like, oh, I want to do this. This is fun.
But man, it was like this whole sticker thing, like that was like, oh, you don't do stickers, you do tags. But now every graffiti writer has their own stickers as well. So some things just become normalized over time.
Yeah. The stickers, I like doing I like the stickers, you know, like I never used to do them, and then in a couple of years ago I went to Seoul, and I'd always seen like whenever I went to the Asian countries, I'd see like, you know, stickers with like the name and like, you know, some characters and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, why don't I do that? You know, I'm half Chinese. I'm gonna chuck some characters under the Chico, and then I just stick them up everywhere.
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
Yeah, and then it becomes part of your identity.
Yeah. That's it. And then I want to do more collages with those stickers. And yeah, I like it.
Well, if people gave you source material and said, look, I want to collaborate, or this is our brand, if it's on brand with you, would you work with them?
Yeah, definitely. So last year I did I worked with a design agency, Sick Dog Wolfman.
I've heard about them, man. I've heard from a marketing person.
Okay, yeah.
It's an amazing name. Tell us a little bit about them, man. Yeah.
So they're great to work with. Like, I think in 2021 they commissioned me to do a piece for them, and then last year they said, oh, do you want to work with the Melbourne City Football Club? And like, I don't know anything about sports, so I replied, I was like, oh, I'm not really into the AFL, but but it sounds pretty cool.
Man, I love Melbourne City. They're my team. We just won the grand final.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've got a Melbourne City tattoo.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was cool because they just said, we want 4 pieces. Here's the images, creative freedom, and then they're going to make them into like, motion graphics and things like that. So that was really cool. So
have you still got the originals?
Nah, so they've got the originals. So things like that I would do.
Yeah.
If it was if I have creative freedom.
Yep.
I'll do it. If it's if it was a sport, because I'm not like I'm not a sport dude at all. But if it was a sport thing that I wasn't into, and they said, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that, I'd probably be like, nah, I don't want to do that.
So they are a pretty big brand, big company. So did they push back and say this needs to have more was there back and forth, or they just ran with what you had?
No, I mean there was a tiny bit of back and forth, but it was more just like, oh, could you put more energy into this image, maybe into this collage, use this image and things like that. So it was chill to work with, man. They were great to work with.
Awesome. Yeah. And so then they're obviously got a bit of a budget, but if it's a smaller company that's cool, like that maybe doesn't have the budget, if they give you creative control and it's a brand that you're down with, you'll work with them as well?
Yeah, I'd still do it for sure. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, are we talking design stuff, or has it got to be collage just how you want to do it?
No, like I would definitely like, if a brand hit me up and I liked that brand, and even if the budget wasn't massive, I would do like, t-shirt graphics or something. It doesn't have to be collage.
Yep.
But yeah, as long as I like the brand and like, I think it aligns with like what I do, then I'm happy to work with them.
Yeah.
As long as they're good people as well.
That's just the life. You got to be a good person.
You really do.
Where do you see your art going? Like you've obviously said you're looking at doing, or you have been doing more freehand drawing on top of it.
Yeah.
You're looking at doing more typography. Is there an evolution that's happening? You've seen it evolve since you've started doing this as a capital A artist?
Not too much. Like I definitely, want to continue to do solo shows and like, the occasional mural if I have like full creative freedom.
Yep.
And just, make more zines and just try and evolve my art and do bigger pieces really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a cool commercial way I didn't even think about. The big brands could get involved with you. They could say, "Hey man, can you do a zine for us?" Do you know what I mean?
Because that would be sick.
Cool.
Because I enjoy like, I love making zines.
Yeah.
Like pretty much like, if I go on a holiday, I'll take a bunch of photos and I want to make a zine or something like that. And it's just a cool way. Like I'd probably still be making Don't Sleep because I used to make it offshore and I'd have to make like, couple of thousand or whatever, and it would end up costing me so much. And then nowadays I found like another printer that you can do smaller runs.
Overseas?
No, in Australia.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was like, oh man, if I'd known about these guys, or if these guys were around when I was doing Don't Sleep, I'd probably still do it. Because Don't Sleep, I liked it. It was cool. It was like, it was a graph mag, but it wasn't just like straight piece. It was just like, photos of people doing graph. There was like, just street photography. It was just a bit of everything. And I had some cool, like, shattered that I didn't like sort of keep in contact with a bunch of people because I would get like other photographers to contribute and things like that. So I would have like, a section in there where a photographer would like, hand over a photo and they would tell a story about it. So I had Tom Gold in there and he had this photo of a kid holding a tarantula, and it was like, I can't remember the story. I think it was like, it was a story, they were in the Bronx or something, and then maybe there was a fight, and that like all these kids came with poles and chains or whatever, and one kid had a tarantula.
That was his weapon.
Yeah, and I thought, fuck man, if someone came at me with tarantula, I'd be fucking running, dude. I hate spiders.
Yeah, they don't bother me too much.
Oh man, no, I can't stand them.
Yeah.
But yeah, who else did I have? I had Puzzle in there a couple of times. Had Edward Nightingale, who is a graph photographer as well.
Yep.
From Europe. It was fun to make. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely something that you could work with brands and keep your artistic integrity. If they say, rather than have a swing tag, we want a cool zine on this
sure.
a piece of clothing, or we've got a product we're dropping and we want something else to put in with it.
Yeah, for sure. Because it is cool to see your art in different things, like when we were doing the brand, we made like the those woven blankets.
Yep.
We did a couple of those, and they sold really well, and it was like cool to make, because I just did the collage, scanned it, sent it to them, and then they did the rest.
Yeah.
And it's just something different,
Yeah, it's so cool to see that, because I think in a day and age now where everything's got to be, everyone's worried about the bottom dollar, you see so many different garments and stuff which are just the same, stock tees.
Yeah.
Screen printed, which is fine. A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
But like the little subtle things, like even just with like the burn one we've got, there's little bit, like the labels are put on there. There's little bits of, because now everyone's just like, let's slap a logo on this AS Colour t-shirt and pump it out there.
Because like starting a clothing brand is like probably the easiest business to start, but it's like the hardest business to keep going and actually grow and like make money from,
For sure. Yeah, and to set yourself apart from everybody else.
Yeah.
Because there's that many out there. Everyone's had a crack at doing a clothing label at some stage.
That's it, yeah.
Pretty much.
There's like like Bad Apples is doing pretty well at the moment.
Definitely, yeah.
They're like smashing things out, which is good to see. There's heaps of good clothing brands at the moment, like, Itch Pig, Snake Hole. Heaps of dudes doing cool stuff,
Yeah, and that's the thing. And then once you reach that level of success, maintaining it's really tough. Because there's some other younger person that's hungrier than you that's coming up through the ranks.
That's it. It's a young man's game,
It really is.
And it's like, I always say, like, to people at work, I'm like, what we think is cool to us, but it's not cool, it's not cool to the young people,
Yeah.
So, like they might say, oh, that person's whatever they're wearing is whack and stuff. And it's like, well, it's not really whack. It's like, it's whack in our generation, but it's cool in their generation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And if you don't change, eventually it's going to become cool again because everything goes through cycles.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for skinny jeans to come back, you know?
Yeah. A mate of mine said something funny. He's like, oh, Kmart's selling baggy jeans. We're going to be back to skinny by summer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
once
yeah.
the shops like Kmart start jumping on the trends, you know that it's...
Yeah, it'd be funny to see skinny jeans come back because they were massive,
Yeah, but they weren't for such a long time.
They weren't for such a long time, yeah. But then the whole like sort of indie rock vibe, like, people were wearing like crazy skinny jeans,
Yeah, I remember in the early 2000s, I would wear female jeans because you couldn't get skinny male jeans.
Yeah. I had friends like that as well, yeah.
Right, and then you do that, and then everything went really tapered.
Yeah.
And then it
yeah, and now it's like super baggy.
goes in fucking waves.
That's
man.
That's it.
Since you've started to become more known, have you seen people try and emulate what you're doing or kind of rip you off?
Not really. Like when I first started, I remember a friend sending me a photo of someone's work and it looked pretty much exactly the same. But I haven't seen too many people. Yeah.
Was that a commercial application? Was it like they've used that as a t-shirt design, or was it
Nah,
just they're exhibitioning it?
It was
like
just
an artist?
them. It was just like on Instagram or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was like obvious. It was like really obvious that it was like a bite. But I haven't, like a lot of the, like I was in a collage show recently and like none of the collages are really like mine.
Yep.
There was some really cool stuff in there, but none
What
of
was
it.
the show? What was the show?
It was called Cut and Composed.
Okay.
And it's at West End Space in West Melbourne. And they had a collage show last year as well, and
Yeah, I'd love to check that out because I think it's a fascinating art form, man.
it's cool. I reckon. Yeah. I reckon it's cool.
Does anyone do anything? Because I always think this is interesting. I think about it from a musical standpoint, but now putting it into physical art, giving like a whole bunch of people the same source material and see how they attack it differently. Does that happen in the collage culture?
There's a it's called Contemporary Collage Magazine, and then sometimes they'll, you can buy like a pack and it'll have like little, all images in there.
Yep.
And then they, people just put them together the way they put them together, and then they submit them.
Yep.
And you can just see all the different ways people work.
That's sick, yeah.
It's cool, I reckon, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea because everyone's going to look at it differently.
Yeah,
and even though
yeah.
there's design elements in there, everyone's going to use those elements in totally different ways.
For sure.
You know?
For sure.
Do you in your designs do you use sort of like the Fibonacci sequence or thirds and fifths or anything like that?
No, not. I mean, not that I
Intentionally do.
Not that I intentionally do. Yeah.
Yeah, but with a design background, you can't help sort of.
Yeah. With a design background, like like I look at things with the composition and color and try and make things kind of like even and like set out nicely and things like that.
Yeah. It's interesting to see like the design trends that evolve over time as well. Like a few years ago, it was like green and pink was such a thing.
Yeah.
And then like now gradients are coming back in. Like there's so many different trends that sort of happen. Do you enjoy following that stuff and just keep an eye on it?
Yeah. I still love like, as much as I don't really do design stuff, I still like, looking at it and see what people are making and things like that. I think it's really cool because there's some crazy designers out there.
Yeah, and it is now with AI and everything, man. It's like I feel like everybody's trying to just do it, but when you see somebody do it properly, it's great,
Yeah. Some of the AI stuff is crazy and some of it's whatever.
Yeah. I think it's changing, but you see somebody try and do a podcast or try and do some brand and you're like, that's a poorly executed AI logo and it's trash. You can tell it a mile away.
But sometimes you see like, the AI, there might be like some AI model on Instagram and you're like, man, that looks real.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Like I'm excited to see what it's going to look like in like 10 years,
Yeah. But I think for someone like you that works with physical medium, you're probably in a pretty safe spot like that, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Do you use it at all in your day-to-day life?
No, like AI?
Yeah.
No, for chat GPT sometimes for
Yep.
like, like copy and things like that, but not to create images.
No.
Like my old housemate, like one of my good mates, he'll like, every now and then he'll take one of my pieces and put it into chat GPT and be like, yo, check this out. And I'll be like, far out. That actually looks pretty sick.
So what are he puts it in there and says, can you recreate something similar to this?
Yeah.
And it looks good.
I mean, it looks pretty sick, yeah, some of them. Some of them look whatever, but some of them look like they're actual real collages.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just evolving so quickly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I get down a bit of an AI rabbit hole where it depresses me, but then I'm like, for a while I was, but now I'm like, the world's going to be searching for real humans.
Yeah,
because
that's it.
Everything's going to be so synthetic.
That's it, yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping.
I hope so, yeah.
Well, I don't know where
We'll
I don't know, man. Like, at first I was really worried from a creative, artistic point of view. I'm like, all artists are going to be... But now I'm thinking, no, real artists are going to be... They're going to strive because people are going to have this mass-produced fake shit.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, for sure.
You agree with that?
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
Or it's definitely a glass half full more than glass half empty mentality, but it scares me how rapidly this stuff's changing, man. And I'm not using it.
Yeah.
I'm staying on top of how it's evolving because I want to know, but I'm still really hesitant to actually use AI for anything.
Oh, like ChatGPT or...
Sometimes I'll be like, can you write a bio for this person?
Yeah.
I've got, I'm not good at writing that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I'm the same. So I'll put it in there and then I'll read it and then I'll just have to change a few things. It just makes it a lot easier, Those things are really good.
Yeah.
But in terms of like creating images... I don't think I'll ever get into that.
No, and I totally agree with that wholeheartly. I speak to people on this show that use it as their own personal assistant. They tell it everything.
Yeah, right.
Man. And I'm looking at maybe automating some things to make life easier for that because I'm like, people push back against email, but how do you go without having an email now? I feel like maybe we're in that same sort of situation.
Need an email, man. It's weird. I find it weird when someone doesn't have an email or they only use Instagram DM. It's kind of like, I don't know if I'm old, but I'm like, dude.
But I didn't email you. I used Instagram as well.
Yeah, it's chill.
It is, but see, email now, because you need an email to sign up for everything. It just, your email even when you try, everyone's got a few emails, right? You use one as your throwaway one as your actually want
business or something like that. Yeah.
But it still gets clogged up so quickly.
Yeah, it gets
and
clogged up.
There's so much shit in there. Yeah.
It's just good to have, I feel, for like if you're working with agencies and things like that. So it looks more professional.
Definitely. Yeah. But it's like, I remember, 15 years ago, everyone wanted to have a .com to look professional. But now it's pretty much accepted. You can just have a Gmail,
Yeah.
No one really cares about that anymore.
That's it. No one cares about that. Because I was like, I have to have a like professional like email. And now I see these people and it's just like at Gmail or whatever. And some people are still at Hotmail or whatever that is now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, I could have just been like at Gmail and no one would have cared,
No, and because I've got the 3000.com.au or whatever, and people have said if you use that, it'll go to people's spam more. If you've got a Gmail, it's going to hit them quicker. So it's kind of gone counterintuitive.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not an IT guy. But I'm one of those people that in the school of thought that I'd rather use Instagram DMs. But then it's kind of scary because if Instagram anything happens, then we're all kind of so reliant on that messaging application.
Yeah. And sometimes, DMs, like, I mean, I always DM as well. But sometimes there might be so many DMs I have to scroll to get to the information I wanted.
And also the way that Instagram works is they give you so many different, what's the word? Folders. So it's like, here's your request, here's your current, and here's your, you know what I mean? There's all these different ones you've got to scroll through to find the right one. Maybe that's how it works as you build more followers. I don't know, but it's just like there's too many inboxes.
Yeah, that's it. And sometimes with like, you got group chats with like reels and there's like, 10 reels just sent through in like a minute and you're just like, oh man, I can't watch all that.
Watch that, yeah. Yeah, there was some new thing like a thread thing that they tried to do, and that's rubbish, man.
Oh, the threads or whatever. Yeah,
No one uses that, do they?
I mean, I use it, but
do?
just like I'll post from Instagram and I'll just say post to Threads as well. Because at the start I was like, I don't know what to use because I never used Twitter.
No.
And I'm not one to, put some, I don't know. But, and then I just started using it and just to, just repurpose my Instagram stuff.
So besides obviously having Instagram, what do you suggest that young people that want to get into collage or fine arts, what they should do? What advice would you like to have been given when you were starting out?
Shit, I don't know. I guess just do your own thing and definitely have an Instagram because I feel like if you're creative and you don't have Instagram, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities.
Yep.
But I feel like just do your thing, just figure out what you like and what works best and don't try and copy,
Find your own style.
Find your own style, find your own style. It might take time, but like you'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
And just keep going, like it's not easy. Like anything art creative is not easy and like I feel like a lot of people think it's easy. They start and they're like, "Oh, I haven't made any money for 2 years. I'm not doing this anymore." But it's like if you really like it and you're passionate about it, doesn't really matter about the money too much. Like, it's just something to do. Because I feel like if I wasn't creating collages and I didn't have a studio to go to, I'd probably be working out more or painting more graph. But I don't know. I like going into the studio and it's just me and I have my own time because I'm a real introvert. So, go in there. I don't talk to anyone. I just chuck on the music and I get in the zone and just do my own thing. It's cool.
I envy you, man. I'm the opposite. I need people around. Like
yeah.
even when I'm here editing or whether I'm here doing some other work for my other business or whatever, I'm like, I go and get a coffee where we went to before just to have human interaction. I don't like being there just by myself, man. I envy you like that. I need to be around people.
Oh, man, I can sometimes I say to people, I'm like, man, like COVID was not good, but sometimes I'm like, man, I wish we had maybe a week or two of a lockdown so I can just chill and be by myself, even though I live with my partner.
Yeah.
But we're both the same, we do our own thing and we can sit in silence and, we're not annoying each other and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love alone time, I've traveled alone. I went to America for 3 months by myself and I loved it. I love just
Where'd you travel to there?
We started in New York. This was a long time ago.
Yeah. Before you were doing these artistic
endeavors. Yeah. Before I was doing any artistic, I don't even know if I was doing Don't Sleep.
If you were, you probably would have taken some photos.
Yeah. So it was we went to New York. I went to New York with my brother and a couple of mates, and then from there I went off by myself, and I went to Philly, went to LA, I went to Miami. I went to San Diego, went to Mexico. I went to San Francisco.
Covered some spots, man.
Went to Vegas. I love America, man. Heaps of people hate it. I don't know what it's like now, but I love California, man. Ever since I was a little kid, I don't know what it was, but I don't know if it was watching skate vids.
Yep.
Or I just love palm trees and things like that. So I just love California.
And the food's great, man. I love that American food.
Yeah, so do I. The tacos and things like that, and all the fast food. Obviously, it's not good for you, but it's it's a novelty. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's funny. You go to California, certain places. You're Hollywood High, and you sort of forget that it's a real school. There's kids there. You're because you see it in videos, and then you go across the road and you're at a shop, and it's kind of like being in a movie when you're there. You're these are places I've just seen on TV.
Yeah, because you've seen it your whole life, so then it feels so familiar.
Yeah. And you forget though. You're that is actually a school. That is a place where people work. You go into these streetwear stores and you're fuck. You just see them online and you're it's crazy.
Yeah, because Hollywood High, you just think of the handrail, you know? Everyone skates.
The kids are, you go past there and they're just leaving school.
Yeah.
So iconic, man. Did you go to any other skate spots while you were there?
No, I don't think so. No. I mean, I went to them, but I didn't skate. I didn't get a skateboard or anything like that.
Yeah.
When I was younger, when I was 16, we did a family trip to America and we went to Pier 7 and some other spots like that, which was cool.
Yeah.
Because that's when I was more into skating.
Yep.
But yeah, like I didn't skate this time. No, it was more just like, partying and things like that.
You've mentioned partying a bit, man. How are you going with the partying now?
I'll go out for, like a few drinks and stuff like that. But like I try and be home not late.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, in my 20s, and even like, early 30s, I was still partying a lot and like, coming home at like 7 a.m. and things like that. And I can't do that now, man. Like I don't want to do that now either because I like waking up fresh the next day so I can either exercise or just not waste a day,
Yeah, not feel like shit.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because there are a lot of people that in their 40s now that are going full sober, which good on them.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of
yeah.
people that probably cooked it too hard when they were younger. But I have respect for people that go, nah, I'm going to still do it sometimes. I'm just going to not do it like I'm in my 20s.
Yeah. Like I'll do it, I'd like to go full sober. I'd probably still smoke weed.
Uh-huh. Are you on the medical?
On the medical, just the vape.
Yep.
I like the vape. And like edibles and stuff like that. But when I go to weddings and like birthdays and special events, I'll have drinks and things like that. And like, if I'm not buying bags, but if someone has something, I'm not going to say no,
A wedding bag.
Yeah.
So it's funny though because we say bags, but like it becomes so normal in Australian culture.
Oh, it's crazy.
And it really shouldn't be, but it just is.
But it's crazy because like when I was 25 or something, no one was doing it. Like it was...
Because it's expensive.
You had to have money and now you've got apprentices doing it. And like when I was an apprentice spray painter, I was making like $250 a week. Yeah. That wouldn't even buy a bag, No. So I don't know how they do it.
No, I was talking to a mate of mine yesterday that I had dinner with. He said that his apprentices at work are all talking about it as well. I'm like, how do these people afford that stuff?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And most of the time it's trash anyway, so it's like...
Well, that's what I said to him because he's kind of like the boss. And I'm like, maybe those kids are saying that and they're actually doing something a little bit more strenuous.
Yeah,
and they're just saying that because they feel like you're going to accept it more.
Because
on an apprentice budget, you couldn't afford to be going out like that.
They're probably smoking pip or
That's
something.
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But either way, it shouldn't be as normalised as it is.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But that's where we're at.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
So do you want to tell us as we get close to wrapping things up, man, what you've got coming up in the future? If people want to work with you, how to hit you up or anything like that?
So I've got a couple of group shows coming up.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about them or they haven't been dropped yet?
They haven't fully been dropped yet. Like one's in August, which will be pretty sweet.
In Melbourne?
In Melbourne, yeah. My partner's in that as well, so that'll be cool.
Okay. What kind of art does she do?
So she's a tattoo artist,
Right.
but she'll be doing some painting.
Yep.
And she used to be a lettering artist.
A lettering artist?
Yeah, she was actually really good at it.
Okay.
And then I've got some more stuff coming out with worship, like just to drop the collection.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to do something else like as a giveaway, which should be pretty cool.
Yep.
And then hopefully maybe a solo show, like a small solo show later in the year.
Not in Newcastle though.
Not in Newcastle, in Melbourne, yeah. And then a couple of collabs, which would be cool with like Melbourne photographers.
Oh, cool.
Which would be sweet.
So when you use this just triggered my thought then. So when you use photos now in your work,
Yeah.
where are you sourcing them from? The artist directly, the photographers?
Nah, so sometimes I'll just see a magazine in like somewhere and I'll be like, oh, I like that photo, I'll take a photo of it and then put it in Photoshop and then just mess around with it to, make it gritty and halftone and stuff like that.
Colour halftone gets...
Yeah. Or I'll just find some, an image off, an old Tumblr page I had and things like that.
Uh-huh.
So, there's probably a bit of copyright there, but, like I'm making
You're not
my
using
own,
the whole image.
I'm not using the whole image. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But I would like to use my own, like I said, my own photography and stuff like that.
Yep.
Like portraits of people I think would be cool. So, yeah, I've got a couple of collabs coming up. And, yeah.
Potentially solo show.
And then if people want to hit me up, they can just hit me up on Instagram or email, really.
Uh-huh. And you do have some work for sale on your website too.
On my website, yeah. At the moment, there's just I sold a piece yesterday, which was sweet, but at the moment it's just skateboards on there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I guess, man, when it comes to other artists to collab with, what you do lends itself to so many different applications. So
That's
people
it.
should hit you up and you could do some cool collabs.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I definitely like doing collabs as long as like I get along with the person well, you know. Like if someone hits me up and's like, let's do a collab, but I'm kind of like, I don't, their stuff's cool, but it's not really my vibe, or I think, the dude's a bit of a douche, or like he talks shit or something, or causes beef, then I don't really want to do it. I just want to do it with like good people, and yeah.
I'm going to ask you to do a collab. Would you do it?
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. just making sure.
Hey, you seem like a good dude,
Thanks, man. Chico, I appreciate you coming in. It's been a good chat, and look
No
forward to
worries,
see what
man.
you've got coming up.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me on.
Good on
It's
you.
been good.
Cheers.
Thank you.
2000.